So we are going to present our group project of operating system. So the operating system that we selected is Windows 10 and Ubuntu Linux. So first I will let Li Ming talk about her part.
Li Ming, turn on your mic. Ada tak?
Maybe her mic is broken.
Okay.
Wait, maybe she's lag.
No.
So.
His microphone is mute. Okay.
So my part is evolution of Windows 10. The first step era of more personal computing. This vision framed up work on Windows 10 where we are moving Windows from its heritage of enabling a single device to a world that is more mobile, natural, and grounded in trust. There are 10 versions updated from 2015 until 2020. Windows 10 updated at least 2 versions in 1 year, so I only choose 3 versions of this Windows 10. The original version of Windows 10 is version 1507. It is released at 29 July 2015. It is retroactively named by Microsoft per its naming convention for future stable release of the operating system. An updated start menu for this version. The second version is version 1607. It is released at 2 August 2016. This is Windows 10 anniversary update, second major update to Windows 10. It is first in a series of updates under the Redstone code names. Start menu redesign and streamlined in this version. The version 2004 is released at 27 May 2020. It is the 9th major update to Windows 10. It is provided faster and easier access to Bluetooth setting and pairing. It is provided quick search now in Search Home. The second part is evolution of Ubuntu. Ubuntu OS first launched in the year 2004 completely changed the way we use Linux on our desktop and laptops. Ubuntu is being constantly developed and used by people around the world and has become one of the best flavors of Linux. There are 32 versions updated from 2004 until 2020 and it was updated at least 2 versions in 1 year. In this part, I also choose 3 versions to describe only. The first version is Ubuntu 4.10 Vertiworld canonical first release of Ubuntu. It is released at 20 October 2004. Ubuntu 4.10 was offered as a free download and through canonical shift service was also mailed to users free of charge in CD format. The second version is Ubuntu 6.06 LTS Dapperjack Canonical Force release, first long-term support release. It is released at 26 October 2006. It included several new features, including having the live CD and install CD merged onto one disk. The last part of Ubuntu is Ubuntu 20.04 LTS Focal Fossa, based on the long-term support in 5.4, which adds support for new hardware, including Intel LED CPU and initial Tiger LED platform. A new Linux security module named Lockdown was introduced in this kernel release and aimed to prevent high privileged root accounts from interacting with the underlying kernel by restricting certain kernel functionality, disallowing execution of arbitrary code and enforcing kernel module signature, among others. Thank you. This is my part.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm the one who in charge in memory management.
Good afternoon.
First, we focus on how both operating systems handle their memory management, especially on virtual memory. For Windows 10, considering that the CPU interfacing with the operating system to get and carry out the instruction from the physical memory, the operating system maintains a translation table called page table ordered by the virtual memory address assigned to each process having cross-reference to the physical memory address. The CPU incorporates a hardware logic to generate the same virtual address and gives it to its own memory management unit, which refers to the page table, and it finds the physical address where the instruction is stored. The virtual memory manager of the operating system will be in charge of the memory requests made by all processes. It assigns consecutive address in the virtual memory in unit called page. Each page initialized with the storage location of the process files on hard disk, which are then replaced by the physical memory address once the process files are stacked to the memory. Um, Next is for the Ubuntu Linux. In the Ubuntu Linux, the virtual and physical memory is divided into fixed length chunks known as pages. In this page model, a virtual address can be divided into two parts which are offset and virtual page frame number. At whatever point the processor encounters a virtual address, it extract its address it extracts the virtual page frame number out of it. Then it translate this virtual page frame number into a physical page frame number, and offset parts helps it goes to exact address in the physical page. This translation of address is done through the page table, which is accessed through virtual page frame number. Utilize it as offset for entries in the page table. Next, we are going to say about the limitation of maximum or minimum memory required for each operating system, especially on 46-bit or 32-bit architecture. For Windows 10 Pro, for Windows 10 Pro at 32-bit architecture, the minimum requirement for memory is 1 GB and the maximum memory allowed is 4 GB. While Windows 10 Pro for, for, for 64-bit architecture, the minimum memory required is 2 GB and the maximum memory allowed is 512 GB. Ubuntu Desktop Edition for 32-bit architecture, the minimum memory required is 1 GB and the maximum memory required is 4 gigabytes. And next, we are going to compare and recommend which operating system utilize its memory more efficient in terms of normal usage. My answer would be Linux Ubuntu. Because Linux strength comes not from a remarkable potential to allow users computer run the same application using the less memory. A web browser on Linux with gather gigs of RAM just it just as it does on Windows. To get um to get more out of RAM, you can use ReadyBoost to turn a USB drive into makeshift RAM in Linux, but that is just the beginning. For beginners, they could try switching from the relatively resource intensive. Therefore, Ubuntu Desktop the alternative that is much lighter on resources. There are hundreds of other distributions to choose from and quite a few target old machine that came with much less RAM. Well, for the server usage, my answer will be also Linux Ubuntu because Linux is more powerful and flexible. It allows users to do whatever they want. You can choose whether if you want to install a graphic user interface or just use the terminal instead to reserve more RAM to the system performance. Linux can easily reconfigure to include only the service needed for your business purpose. Further lower the memory requirements, improving performance and keeping things even more simple. With Linux, there is no commercial vendor trying to log into certain products or protocols. Instead, you are free to mix and match and choose whatever works best for your business. Finally, the administrator of Linux server have the right to accommodate every single process in Linux-based server. And this is all for my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, next. Who present Chiu Ping? Turn on mic.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Can we took out a person who presenting the slide? I think I have a little lag in the slide presentation. Can you do it, Shirley? Can you present the slide?
I haven't downloaded the slide.
Never mind. I present it first. You can talk.
Okay. Good evening, sir. My name is Ang Chiu Ping. I'm going to present about process management. Next. First of all, I would like to focus on how both operating systems handle their process management when it comes to many processes request for CPU resources. Next. Process management in Windows 10 is done by multitasking. Windows allocate processor time and divide to each thread it executes. Windows implement a priority-driven preemptive scheduling system. When a thread finishes running, it enters terminated state and the thread is removed from the process thread list. It releases and deallocates the associated resources for the next thread to being carried out. Windows 10 Task Manager is used to manage processes when it comes to many processes requests for CPU resources. Process management in Ubuntu is taken place in kernel space, and it divides the process circle into kernel space and user space. Real-time algorithms are identified by first-come, first-served, and round-robin with the presence of priority value in scheduling the processes. When two processes have the same class, the one waiting longer have the higher priority. But for processes that come from different class, the one with the higher class has the higher priority. System Monitor is used to manage processes when it comes to many processes requests for CPU resources. This action will then start the GNOME system monitor. Now I'd like to explain the operating system effect with various CPU types. First of all, Intel i7 can support both Windows 10 64-bit and Linux Ubuntu 64-bit. The example here is Intel Core i7 9700K. Next. AMD also can support both Windows 10 64-bit and Linux Ubuntu 64-bit. The example for AMD is AMD Ryzen 7 3700X. Next. Now I'd like to compare and recommend which operating system utilizes its processor more efficient in terms of normal usage and server usage. For normal usage, I would like to recommend Windows 10 as it has several kernel types. Windows 10 is also rich in graphical user interface and it is easy to use by novice users. Windows 10 can handle entertainment as well. For server usage, I like to recommend Ubuntu as it is more reliable. Updates in Ubuntu are very easy. Ubuntu can access and modify source code, and Ubuntu requires less power to operate. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon, sir. My name is Hui Xin, and I'm in charge for file management.
Okay, good afternoon.
So in terms of difference in file management between the Windows 10 and Ubuntu is that the files are kept in folders on different lettered data drives like C drive, D drive, or E drive in Windows 10. But for in Ubuntu, there's nothing like data drives, but the files are ordered in a tree-like structure, starting with the root directory. And in terms of default directory, C drive is the default directory for Windows user, but home is the default directory for Linux users. Regarding the path styling, in Windows 10, it uses the backslashes for the path, but for Ubuntu, it uses the forward slashes. In terms of modification of files, for Windows 10, it does not allow any modification of files when the files are in use. The modification of files includes copying, deleting, renaming, and other modifications. Before you do any modification, you need to close the file in use first before you change the name or anything. And in terms of naming convention, for Windows 10, the naming convention is not case sensitive. Therefore, it is not allowed to have two files with the same name, although they are of different cases. So as you see in the example, although these two names are of different cases, but it is not allowed to exist together. But in Ubuntu, it is case sensitive. It is allowed to have two files with the same name as long as they are of different cases. For example, the tree starts below, they are written in different cases. So I would like to make a summary here is that I would recommend Linux Ubuntu in terms of file management because Linux Ubuntu has more advantages compared to Windows 10. Ubuntu is organizing files by types, which makes it easier to use files, while Windows store all types of files together. Ubuntu allows two files of the same name of different cases, while Windows does not. Ubuntu allows the packages to interact easily. For example, if user wants to run a command, he or she will know where to find it no matter which package provides it. But Windows 10 does not allow the software packages to interact easily. This is because most installed software doesn't end up on the default command search path, so it interacts badly with any form of scripting. That's all from me. Thank you.
Finish?
It's my part.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
So after that, I will talk about the security management. So the user and password authentication and management in Windows 10, they use multiple user account. Different user can have different accounts. So some user they can access to more security information, but some user cannot. Another thing is password. They need to set the password to avoid people to access their information. The next one is fingerprint. Fingerprint is much more used in the operating system in Windows 10 now. So there are many laptops that equipped with the fingerprint system. With Iris, there are not much special hardware available for laptop yet. So for facial recognition, also same with the Iris, they are not available yet because for the cost problem. And then the next one is PIN. So with PIN, it is more secure because if a user enter wrongly the PIN more than several times, the system will disable the user to enter the PIN again. So next is the user password authentication and management for Linux Ubuntu. So new user have a brand new home directory for them when they created an account. So they also have a password length that can be set with 6 characters. And then I will talk about the securing kernel from authorized access of Windows 10. They will have a virtualization to separate the user environment. The virtualization will have many level. In virtual trust level 0, they can be considered, the user can be considered as normal mode. In this level, the user will not cannot access the more security paths. Maybe for virtual trust level 1, that is considered as secure mode. The user can access the more security paths for the system. And for Linux Ubuntu, they will have a SE Linux module to that assign all the files and process with all the security labels. When the files and process need to interact with each other, they will go through the SE Linux first. And then I will talk about the third-party hardware or software to avoid hack attempt. So for Windows 10, they will have a firewall to avoid people getting hacked before security patch is released. So for firewall, they will not let the hacker to access into the system first. So for Linux Ubuntu, we have a software tools which is password cracker, network scanner, and vulnerability scanner. It is a hacker software to test the Ubuntu from a hacker perspective. If they can hack their own operating system, that means the hacker also can hack their system, right? So they use these software tools to check their system. Then I will talk about the mechanism for preventing hack. For Windows 10, the most effective way to prevent from hacking is password and firewall. And for Ubuntu Linux, its own operating system has a kernel self-protection. The kernel self-protection will remove the bugs and blocking security faults and detect the attack attempt itself. So no need user to detect their self. And then for control flow integrity, they will control the flow of the process. If the system found that the flow of the process or execution code as the problem, it will stop the direction of the process. And then for lastly, I will make a comparison between Windows 10 and Ubuntu. For memory management, I would like to choose Ubuntu because it has a ready boost to turn USB drive into makeshift RAM, and distribution are free and can be fixed based on requirements of user. And in the aspect of process management, I would like to choose Windows 10 because it has more rich graphical user interface GUI for user and can provide entertainments to user. And For file management, I would like to choose Ubuntu because network server are relatively high reliability and allows package to interact easily because it organizes file by types. While in the aspect of security management, I would like to choose Ubuntu because it has a kernel self-protection and CFI. Also, it has a security tools. So that's all from me. Thank you. That's all, sir.
Oh, okay. I don't know your opinion or not. Okay. So if you want to choose which one better operating system for the server, Windows or Ubuntu Linux for server?
Did you ask everyone or just one answer only?
Anyone can answer.
Anyone can answer. I choose Ubuntu
Why?
because it is more secure.
More secure. Beside
Yeah.
that,
Besides that, it only can be used by more technical person. So I think I'm more technical.
more okay. In terms of user friendly, which one is better?
In terms of user friendly, I think Windows is better.
Why?
Because it has a more easy to use interface for the user and they have more helps or indicator to help user to find their problems like that.
In terms of processing, which one better?
Wait, only me answer me.
I don't know.
Come out, you guys. In terms of processing, yeah, Chuping, come on, help me.
In terms of processing, Windows 10 is better because it has several kernel types. Can have many type of kernel can help to process the process.
Process the word,
Yes.
Okay. Thank you everyone for your hard work. I like your style of presentation. I want to ask something.
Thank you, sir.
I want to
Yeah,
ask,
yeah.
why you, when I ask you to present, between you present your report, not in a slide.
What do you mean? Which one?
Video presentation. Video presentation.
Oh, you mean all of us?
Video presentation. Why you all not using slide but you using report?
We all didn't get your points.
When we say about the presentation, mostly PowerPoint. It's okay using your report, but it's take your much data. Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Stay safe.
Okay, stay safe too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.